Hello, Justin.
Hi, Jay.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Not well.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, not well at all. So I called up my buddy Justin, who's a interventionist, and I think I'm all right. Health. I don't think I'm gonna hurt myself, but my self worth is clearly defined by Wisconsin sports teams, and I don't really have a lot of self worth right now. So I'm struggling. So
I
anyway.
would say that's accurate. So
Anyway, you know, I wouldn't be all that confident. Last Sunday, we played our worst game yet. When you guys beat us by 2 points, that's saying a lot. But anyway,
you and the rest, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not an.
Thank you for saying that. We did have to play against the refs too, without our top 2 cornerbacks. Anyway, well, what we're going to do here is answer questions about interventions. And all that sports talk drove a lot of people away. There were a lot of people that jumped on to that little introduction. They all left. But anyway, we're going to continue. Wisconsin sports, we'll be back. Anyway, point of this, we're going to talk interventions with my boy Justin. We got several questions. Instead of sitting at my computer, replying them all, we're just going to, I called up Justin. I said, let's just answer them directly through video. You ready, Justin?
Do my best.
What?
I'll do my best.
I mean, that's all you can do. No one's asking you to do anything other than your best. So we can just have a little banter back and forth. How can we, I don't know who we are, but let's just say they're people. I mean, mom, dad, maybe. Just use it. How can we balance respecting an individual's autonomy with the need to intervene in their substance abuse for their safety and well-being? The example being, my friend refuses help and insists they're fine despite clear signs of addiction. How do I respect their choice while still trying to assist them effectively? Welcome to pretty much every call in an interventions world.
Well, I think that everybody is entitled to their feelings, right? And so if you have a loved one that you are worried about or concerned, if you are also concerned if you don't say something, it's not going to get better, then you are at least entitled to share what you are feeling from what you're seeing. And that's your side of the street. I was just talking to a dad earlier this week that, an intervention is as much, if not more so, for the people that care about the identified individual, because they have clearly hit their bottom of staying silent.
Well, and they've run out of options on how to communicate that as well. And so, I think communication has been huge within the intervention process. I will say that. I think too many people. I've talked about this a number of times. So I mean, let's say it now rather than saying it at people's funerals. And I kind of have to pick and choose when to say that. I mean, because kind of we're dealing with a life and death disease, but at the same time, I'm finding a lot more people need to speak up. And you're right in saying, everyone has their right to share their opinion. And if there's concern and someone gets upset over your concern, over your well-being, then it goes into the question, are they, truly a friend or something? I mean, if they're upset because they're, concerned, if you brought up a concern to me or another friend, and I just shut you out of my life, I mean, that's not a healthy way to show up. I mean, it may not be right, and so you take it in. If it doesn't apply, let it fly, like every treatment center that I went to always says. But you're right in saying, speak up. I mean, too many people are not speaking up, and you sit in a funeral, and what's a lot of times, I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have said this. I wish, say it.
Well, and that also brings up a really good point, right? I think that there's a, a time in between when you are first starting to see this and the funeral. And I don't know how many countless calls I've had where either, especially if it is a spouse where, you know, they're gone. And now it's parents. And that's because they didn't say something, you know, 6 months ago, 3 years ago. And anybody is human and susceptible to building a resentment against the individual who, as you and I both know, I mean, most addicts and alcoholics are good folks. They just have a very bad disease. And so, you know, but there's a human nature of being afraid to have the difficult conversation or the difficult communication. And so they just, the loved ones stuff it and don't say anything. But then their resentment grows at the disease, which happens to just be living in their loved one.
Well, as we know, I mean, the addict is bullying more often than not because there's, most are scared to even bring up concerns because of the fire that they breathe back, and most people just don't want to get in that argument, which is another reason, a trained interventionist can kind of come in and decipher, and be kind of the middle person and kind of just walk through it and communicate better and give a voice to everybody in that room, including the individual suffering. So, most effective strategies for adolescents. Should interventions for teenagers involve their peer groups or focus solely on families or family members and professional support to encourage them to seek help? What's your experience with adolescents?
Well, I took an extra credit class when I was in school to
Good
get
job. Gold star, Justin Deal.
yeah. Well, we'll stick around my paper. I on adolescence, and studies and research show that especially at that age, peers' opinions and what they share holds more water than even parents or family members. So if you can, without a doubt, pick some peers that are healthy, um, absolutely having them be there and be part of it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that this person isn't smoking weed also or experimenting, but they are not as far down the path as the identified individual. Because I did an intervention a few years ago, 18-year-old, young man. I think he actually was 17, and turned 18 a week or so into treatment, which is how that program was kind enough to, help out there. And it was other classmates were part of the intervention, and they they held a lot more strength than even the parents. But it is. I always say that you want to err on the side of caution. You don't want to have somebody that is going to, spill the beans, thinking that they're doing their friend a favor. And heck, I mean, I had that happen, this spring on a, 40-year-old guy. His buddy told him about it, and the dad then, said, well, he knows, and he's leaving town.
Yeah. Well, it's also just when I hear adolescents and interventions in the same sentence, I think too many people think that there's interventions are traumatic, and these, most kids shouldn't be able to sit through an intervention or something. And I just kind of want to remind and I guess report interventions are based and founded in love and support, and there's a lot of there's a lot of great things that can come out of an intervention, and there's a lot of great things that kids, and I get it. There's some ages, and depending on the situation, which we won't get into. But as a blanket statement, I will say there's a lot of advantages to having younger people within that intervention, whether it's the sons, daughters, or whatever it may be. But interventions are not traumatic. They're not where we're throwing daggers at each other's and insults, and a fight could break out at any time. Interventions are probably most love filled room that I've ever been around or been in, and the most raw communicative style. I mean, it's just real. You feel your feelings, and it's raw. And I think kids with the right support around sitting through an intervention and the kind of talking it through with them, interventions are not traumatic for kids given the right circumstances. I just want to PSA for you.
No, and I mean, you and I have both been trained in both Johnson model and invitational model. And the way that we have been trained in the Johnson model is similar to the invitational, where the intervention is the beginning of the process. It is not the end. And I think whether it is on an adolescent or a 60-year-old, what the disease wants us to do is isolate and stay in the dark. And what recovery is connecting and getting out into the daylight. And that's what a conversation is. And I can tell you, I mean, it helps to have a professional there to guide and answer someone's questions, whether they are 15 or 55. But that if you have that professional guidance and those people are instructed or guided on how to express their concerns, then after everybody's done, you're absolutely right. It is love. I mean, there are hugs and there are thank yous. This is not, a judgment factory or a shame expedition. This is just, we love you and are concerned.
So you talked about several models that we've all been talked about, trained about. I mean, there's invitational, whatever it may be. So a lot of times there's the question of, when it comes to ethics or just kind of the, I guess, I don't know what the right word is. Most families question whether the surprise attack in simplest forms is the best way, and doesn't that interfere with loved ones' rights and privacy and so forth like that. I mean, we can kind of banter back and forth, but when dealing with interventions, you can touch on the models or the decisions going through that, but also I know families often kind of push back with this the surprise aspect to of intervention, and they addiction doesn't play fair, and they don't understand that, but they think treating their loved one, surprising them with an intervention is a quote unquote dirty move.
Well, so I have yet to meet an addict that doesn't at least have moments of clarity still and know that things aren't going well. But so they are almost walking around 24/7 waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Or waiting for that intervention to happen. I've always been like, I mean, today seems like a great day for an intervention. I think my parents maybe do. You know it. I mean, you just have this. If you don't God bless you, but I always thought like something's happening. Either I'm going to jail or I'm getting intervened on. So, you know.
And I know firsthand, because I started my journey of now 23 years of sobriety by going over to my parents' house for a barbecue, and there was nothing on the grill.
Can I just tell this to anyone out there that may be watching this, and they're suffering? If your parents call you up for a barbecue, if you want to get help, go to the barbecue. If you don't go to the barbecue. It's there's not a lot of food on the table. I'll just tell you that. There's really no table. It's really just a circle of chairs. I'll just give you the heads up.
Yeah. And so, did I mean, it is really also kind of what is the person doing? What substances are they taking? How urgent is it that we have this conversation? But also, you know, even the invitational model is a bit of a, hey, we're going to have this meeting, you know, and so that is still a shock. The one of the favorite things that I've come across over the years is the individual saying, "Well, yeah, you're right. Let's talk about this tomorrow or next week." Um, I worked in the bar business before I got sober, and we had a sign on the register that said "free beer tomorrow." But if you came back the next day, it still said "free beer tomorrow." So you know, they don't ever want to have that conversation, whether it's invitational or Johnson model. And I think that, like I said, it really boils down to there are so many things out there now that can take somebody just on one use.
Yep. Fentanyl is just not for the kids anymore either. I just got a call. A 55-year-old husband was found unresponsive. His wife rushed him to the hospital. So, I mean, it's people think fentanyl is only the kids are doing it. It's everywhere. Anything to get me out of me, I'm in. When I was in the heart of addiction, it didn't matter. So it is. If you believe that there is a need for help, reach out. Don't wait. I'm just telling you, it never gets better. It really never gets better. If you get to the point where you're concerned, if you're a loved one and you're concerned, if you're to that point, look back, think about this. Experience will tell you it's not going to get better, and you're going to keep putting it off, procrastinating. Pick up the phone today, whoever it is, find an ethical person. They can help take so much off your plate. Just the intervention alone, this goes right into what we kind of talk about, and it's treatment placement and kind of aftercare and kind of just what we all know. I mean, we know the importance of the longer they're in a structured, safe environment, the success rates go up. And so that's also the advantage of bringing in. You're getting an interventionist to kind of intervene, not only on the individual, but with the family, but also carry you through the whole process, including treatment placement and creating that long-term recovery plan. Most people, most people still think 30 days and you're done is treatment. We all know the longer the better. So the question is, especially around aftercare, everyone's suggesting aftercare. Justin, that's so unfair. Aftercare, I already went to 30 days. Just kind of walk through families, individuals, the importance of aftercare through an exercise.
Yeah. But another beautiful thing about having, one of us or an interventionist as part of the team is it puts everybody back in the right role, right? It makes mom
I like that.
and dad. if they want to have somebody be the bad guy, it's okay. I'm pretty thick skinned. You can, make fun of, what I'm wearing, or, that I look like Better Call Saul or whatever. And
I've got some others that I will keep to myself. But I'll just,
so it's not that he's a bad looking guy, in case he ever sees this. I think that we're the ones that are then, expressing the plan. And because, mom, dad, siblings, spouses, they might be successful lawyers or bankers or realtors, or athletes, but addiction is not their area of expertise. It is ours. And so we carry a little bit more, to, hey, this is the plan, and we're not just pulling this out of the air. This is, for a reason. Your brain is not going to, restabilize for 2 weeks. So then you're only going to have 2 weeks of being there and learning what, is still life threatening. So we can be the bearer of the bad news, so to speak, and take that off of families.
when every family has the addict management specialist. I think I've heard a couple of people say it. So it's not my own claim to fame, but it's so true. Like every family member, from here on out, like every family that I'm going to talk to, I'm going to ask, all right, who in this family is the addict management specialist? And find out who that is. More often than not, probably mom. And then take that position away from them and say, you don't have to do that anymore. I bet you that would be such a freeing kind of experience for whoever that is, because they don't know what they're doing, but they've been probably thrust into that position for far too long, out of love. It's not, but yeah, you don't have to be addict management specialist anymore. You can go back to being mom. You can go back to having healthy communications and not just getting these arguments and so forth. Absolutely.
Well, and in other fields, right? I mean, there's the saying that a lawyer who represents himself has a client for a fool. You don't want to be that close to the situation and be making the decisions. We have the opportunity to have the outside and not as attached as those that love this specific individual.
Good. I mean, it's last kind of question will bother you. We're going to probably maybe do this every week because this has been a lot of fun for you, I know.
Well, yeah. I love looking at all those Packer jerseys in the background.
I mean,
of former quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't have the fourth Hall of Famers signed jersey up yet, so I apologize for that.
I only see 2 Hall of Famers.
Well, sometimes one is still playing and 2 are still playing of the 4. So you can't go in the Hall of Fame while still playing. If it was possible, that number 12, it would probably be the one that they would do it for. Just saying. He's also owns an NFL team in Chicago.
I didn't know that there was a Hall of Fame for crybabies.
I mean, listen here. You can call him a lot of things. Just don't call him a crybaby. There's a lot of things that you can insult him about, but he's not my person anymore. I'm not the Aaron management specialist anymore. I've been doing that for several years. And like I was trying to say, it is a freeing experience being out of that. When I can just be full of love and watch wins just trickle in and just be full of love, I mean, it's so much freeing. It really is. It really is. It really is. It really is.
Good to hear.
I'm not the Aaron management specialist anymore, though. You have a wise man that took that position away from me. So I don't have to stand up for him anymore like I did for years. Whew. I had to go through that process. Thank you for allowing me to go through that. I needed to do that. Anyway, well, this has been fun. We're going to do this every week.
All right. Was there another question before we went, or?
I mean, we can save it for next week.
All right.
I mean, that's 25 minutes, dude.
All right. Sweet hat.
Thank you, man. Sweet blue.
Well, thank you.
I mean, all right. Well, I guess awkward goodbye.
Okay. Bye.